Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Inuit, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Ian Mann, and joining me on the panel today is Ms. Tracy Anderson and Mr. Mike Colatruglio. The Assessment Department personnel is Mr. Roddy Pontanilla, and the administrative personnel is Ms. Phoebe Graywood. We will be hearing applications for revision of the business assessment role in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act and the City of Winnipeg Charter. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all of the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the Board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing item 2 and then 5 through 8 inclusive on our docket today. Ms. Graywood, would you please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony?
Mr. Pontanilla, please state your full name.
Rodrigo Pontanilla.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And Mr. Reimer, please state your full name.
Very well, Reimer.
Do you affirm the evidence you're about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Graywood, I see that on item 2 on the docket, there has been no applicant's brief. And for the record, has any applicant indicated their willingness or desire to attend by Zoom or in person today?
Unfortunately, no, we haven't received any.
No communication? Okay, what we'll do then, we'll stand that matter down and proceed to the matters on which Mr. Reimer appears. And I believe that's the remainder of the matters on the docket, items 5 through 8, Mr. Reimer?
I don't have the docket in front of me, but I'm assuming that's the case. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Then, Mr. Pontanilla, if we can please go to item 5 on the docket. That's the street address of 171729 Pembina Highway, Unit 1. If you could introduce the property and provide your evidence, please.
Yes, we can, Mr. Chair. If you just give me 1 second to open up the files. I had assumed we were starting at the top of the docket, so just be 1 more second here. Okay, so it looks like the first file we have is file number 24-4744. The roll year is 2025. The address is Unit 1, 1729 Pembina Highway. The business assessment ID or bid is 1083. And the business we're speaking of is the Value Village. The total annual rental value we have in place for 2025 is $432,240. The total area that we have for the subject property is 30,986 square feet. And the overall price per square foot that we have, including utilities, is $13.95 per square foot. For the income stream, we have one premise associated, premise 1344. We have that at 30,986 square feet for an area with a base annual rental value of $348,592. This annual rental value has been derived using a price of $11.25 per square foot. From there, we've tacked on the utility charges for a total occupancy charge of $83,662, and that brings us to our total annual rental value of $432,240. For the subject lease information, we do have the subject leased as a net lease, which was written back in 2008 for 19 years, probably close to 20 years there, 19 years, 11 months. At a reported area of 30,986 square feet and at a reported rate of $11.25 per square foot. For the market data rent comparables, I have included some rent comparables that are within the subject property's neighborhood. These are all used as sort of big box-ish. They are all big box stores. I only say ish because 2195 Pembina Highway is actually a giant tiger, but the rest are big box style stores. And they were chosen based on their area. So you do see a reported area there from 22,000 square feet at the lower end up to 20,000 square feet actually at the lower end, up to 39,000 square feet at the higher end. And then we do have rents that range from $10.75 or $10.53 at the lower end up to $17.75 at the higher end. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reimer, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Coltruglio?
Questions? No questions, thank you.
Ms. Anderson, any questions?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
And I have no questions. Mr. Reimer, I read ahead, so I have an idea what your position is going to be, but if you could provide your evidence, please.
Indeed, if we could just refer briefly to the submission, and we're simply requesting a confirmation of the present annual rental value of $432,240 at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pontanilla, do you have any questions on that?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Ms. Anderson?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Coltruglio?
No questions, thank you very much.
And I don't have any questions. Any need for summary, gentlemen?
No need on my part. Thank you.
Thank you. Then, having heard the evidence, we will conclude that matter and move on to number 6 on the docket today. That is Unit 21 at 1910 Pembina Highway. Mr. Pontanilla, if you can please proceed with the property introduction and your evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just opening up the file here. Okay, so up next we have file 24-4617. The roll year is 2025. The address is Unit 21, 1910 Pembina Highway. The business assessment ID or bid is 910, and we are speaking of a Shapes business. The total annual rental value is $732,420. The total area that we have is 38,670 square feet, and that gives us an overall rate of $18.94, including utilities. For the income stream, we have one premise associated with the income stream, premise 1134. The area we have is 38,670 square feet, and that's derived using a rate of $16.24 per square foot to give us the base annual rental value of $628,001. From there, we have the utility rates that are included on top for $104,409 to give us our total annual rental value of $732,420. We do have a subject lease information. We have one lease associated, or one unit, one premise, sorry, associated with the lease there. We have it listed as net and was written back lease that started in 2019 for 5 years. 39,502 square feet is the size, and we have that at a reported rate of $12.55 per square foot. And I do have a recommendation to make on this file. So at the this file was heard at the realty appeal, as it was appealed at the realty level, and at the time we had a review on it, and we had a revised rental rate that was applied. So the rental rate that I would like to put forward as a recommendation is $15.15. This rental rate was again used at the realty appeal and is a rental rate that I feel is reflective of market value within the neighborhood there and in terms of the use of the subject property. And so when you reduce the rate to $15.15, that gives you a revised annual rental value of $585,850 rounded.
Sorry, can I have that number again, please?
Yep. It's so the rental rate is $15.15, and the total annual rental value is $585,850. 585,850. And then from there, when we add the utility costs on top, it gives us a total annual rental value, including utilities, revised of 690,240. 690,240. And that's using the rental rate of $15.15, and that's also including utilities.
Thank you, Mr. Reimer. Were you aware or have you had a chance to consider the recommendation?
We did, and we'd still like to proceed, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then have you questions for Mr. Pontanilla?
I have no questions, and I'll explain a little bit more when I get to my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Anderson, have you any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Colatrulio?
No questions, thank you.
And I don't have any questions. Mr. Reimer, your evidence, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So I sort of preface my comments with I was head conduct of the realty assessment appeal for the property in which this premise is located. And this is another situation where the some of the assumptions when we did resolve the realty appeal, some of the assumptions within that framework, within the valuation were different. And it's in that context that I'm making a submission this morning. So if I could ask the board members and Mr. Pontanilla just to turn to page 5 of our submission briefly. So as indicated, the realty assessment appeal for the mall, the entire mall was resolved based on a final assessment of 59.5 million roughly. Within that, the difference in the positions of the parties, notwithstanding the final number was agreed at, we had actually applied a net market rent of 562,904 per annum for this premise. And then if you go to page 6, using, and it rounds a little differently, but it's essentially the same number. We're using 562,919, adding in the occupancy costs, and our requested ARV this morning is 667,320. A copy of the realty submissions attached, but that's again, at the end of the day, when this revised final value is agreed upon, our rental assumptions for this particular premise are a little different. So that's the basis on which we're asking for the 667,320 ARV this morning for this premise. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pontanilla, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Colatrulio?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Anderson, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
I would just like some clarification, Mr. Reimer. You referenced the realty decision or the realty agreement that was reached for evaluation. That was reached with a global number and it was not discussed, or the annual rental value, sorry, the rent per square foot wasn't discussed. So is that correct?
That's exactly right. So when we're going, and this will happen very frequently, Mr. Chairman, when we're in discussions, the without prejudice discussions with the assessor prior to the realty appeals, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is to come with whatever assumptions one wants to make in evaluation, come to a final number that makes sense for both parties. Within that, though, of course, and you'll appreciate this, Mr. Chairman, there can be differences in some assumptions, particularly with the rents and the cap rates, sometimes with vacancies. And that is certainly not uncommon, but at the end of the day, and this is a good example where our capitalization rate assumption would have differed somewhat from the assessors, and as would have the potential net market income for the entire mall. But at the end of the day, we're coming to the same number, just with slightly different assumptions. Our initial brief, if you turn to page 22 of our submission, that is the valuation for realty purposes now of that we had put to this board with respect to the entire property. And you'll see within that, at that time, the market rent that we had applied was 14.25 for the Shapes, which is its subject premise. So from there, the number changed a little bit in the final valuation that we prepared for the final realty number, and that rental rate had gone up just a wee bit from the 14.25 when we did the final valuation at our end. But of course, the assessors is and does and should value it using parameters that they are comfortable with. But at the end of the day, it results in the same number.
Which leads to my next question. And I was reviewing your page 22 with respect, I think that's 22. Yes. You've got the net market rent per square foot on the realty, and they vary fairly, there's a wide range there all the way up to, well, CIBC ATM, I'm gonna exclude as an outlier. Got everything up from to $45 a square foot for smaller areas for the DQ down to the $14.25 with a blended rate or an average rate of the $18.46. Do you have a breakout for the realty amount of all these net market rents as well? Or was that something, again, that was done after the fact using a percentage based on the net market rent that was presented on page 22?
So the final breakdown of the potential rents that we applied when we got to the 15-1 agreement, that is
Yes.
not in this, that is not, that has been not been submitted. Rather, what I'm doing is I'm tying in, and I can tell you, that's why I'm suggesting, Mr. Chairman, that from our perspective with the assumptions, I think it's 1456. Yeah, the 1456 rate was a bit of an uptick in the final calculation of the potential net market rent. That would have resulted, if you refer back to page 22, it would have resulted in an uptick to some extent of the total potential. But no, we haven't. We have not provided the final potential net market rent that we used for the 15-1.
Okay, thank you. I think I've got that fairly clear. I don't have anything further. Mr. Pontonia, any summary?
No summary on my part. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Reimer, any summary?
No, thank you.
Then, having heard the evidence, we will conclude this matter and move on to item 7 on the docket. That is the street address of Unit 26, 2855, Pembina Highway. Mr. Pontonia, if you can please introduce the property and provide your evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oh, I thought it was muted for a second. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just opening up the file now. If you just give me 1 second. Okay, I believe I'm ready to go now. So up next, we have file 24-4739. The roll year is 2025. The address is Unit 26, 2855 Pembina Highway. The business assessment ID or bid is 1254, and we are speaking of a RBC, Royal Bank of Canada. The total annual rental value is $248,100. The total area we have is 9,122 square feet. And the overall rate, including utilities, is $27.20 per square foot. We have one premise associated on the income stream, premise 1559 for 9,122 square feet. And we do have a rate on there of $24.50 per square foot, which gives us a base annual rental value of $223,489. From there, we have utility costs that are included on top, which gives us an annual rental value of $248,100. We do have some lease information for the subject properties. So we do have a lease that's listed as net that was written back in 2020. And we have that for 9,122 square feet at $20 per square foot. And I would like to put that forward as a recommendation that I would like to make on this property, the $20 per square foot. So if you go through the $20 per square foot, that gives us an annual rental value of $182,440.
182,420.
Yep, 440, 182,440.
Thank you. Sorry.
And then from there, no problem. And then from there, we have the utility costs that are included on top of $24,630 rounded. And that gives us a total revised annual rental value, including utilities, of $207,060.
And I've seen that number before. Mr. Reimer, have you heard that, or you've heard the recommendation? Have you had a chance to consider it? And what's your position on it?
We have indeed, and we are in agreement with the proposed value of $207,060. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Anderson, have you any questions?
I do not, thank you.
Mr. Colafruglio?
No questions, thank you.
And I don't have any questions. And Mr. Reimer, do you have anything to add besides the?
Nothing further, just ask the board to accept the joint recommendation. Thank you.
Any summary required, gentlemen?
No summary on my part. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Then, having heard the evidence and the position of the parties, we will conclude this matter and move on to number 8 on the docket. That is street address 2866 Pembina Highway, unit number 10. Mr. Pontanilla, if you can please introduce the property and provide your evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, I'm ready to go. Up next, we have file 24-4703. The roll year is 2025. The address is Unit 10, 2866 Pembina Highway. The business assessment ID or bid is 973. And we are speaking of a CIBC. The total annual rental value we have is $147,300. The total area we have is 4,550 square feet. And the overall annual rental value we have for a rate, including utilities, is $32.37 per square foot. For the income stream, we have one premise associated, and that premise is 4,550 square feet, premise 1202. And we have that with a base rate of $29.67 per square foot, which gives us a base annual rental value of $134,998. From there, we have $12,285 in occupancy cost to give us our total annual rental value of $147,300. We do have some lease information for the subject property. So we do have a lease as listed as monthly, although it is listed as net, and it was written back in 2017 for 4,550 square feet, and that is at $26 per square foot. And that $26 per square foot is a recommendation that I would like to put forward to the board. So as I just mentioned, we have a 4,550 square feet at $26 per square foot. That gives us a total annual rental value of $118,300. And then from there, we have the utility costs of $12,285 on top to give us a revised ARV of $130,560. And that's the recommendation I would like to put forward.
Thank you. Mr. Reimer, have you had a chance to consider the recommendation? And if so, what's your position on that?
We have indeed, and we are in agreement with the proposed revised ARV of $130,560. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Truglio, have you any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Ms. Anderson, questions?
No questions, sir. Thank you.
And I don't have any questions on this. Mr. Reimer, having heard your consent, is there any need for summary? Mr. Pontanilla, Mr. Reimer?
No need on my part. Thank you.
Then, having heard the evidence, we will conclude this matter and the positions of the parties on that, and we will move on. Mr. Reimer, I think that's your last matter.
That is my last one. Thank you very much.
you.
Have a good morning, all.
Thank you,
Thank you
Carrie.
very much for your time and presentation.
Yep. Bye.
Take care, Carrie. See ya.
Thanks, you too.
And on the last matter, moving back to number 2 on the docket, still no contact, no phone calls, emails, any messages from the case. So what we have here is the city's brief, from assessment and taxation. The appeal's been filed with no follow-up and nothing else. So what we'll do, I think, Ms. Greenwood, is we'll go in camera, determine the position that we're going to take on the hearing of this matter, and then come back.
Just gonna put the assessor in the waiting room for a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to call the meeting back to order, and we're dealing with number 2 on the list, 1876 Pembina Highway. We had an opportunity to deliberate on this. There was an appeal filed with respect only to the amount of the rental value. There have been no brief received, no communication with the assessment department personnel or the Board of Revision personnel, it would appear. So, Mr. Pontanilla, we're going to ask you to proceed and provide your evidence with that. We will deliberate and give our decision in due course, and it can be sent to the applicant. So if you can go to the 1876 Pembina Highway, number 2 on the list, please, Mr. Pontier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last up, we have file 24-4472. The roll year is 2025. The address is 1876 Pembina Highway. The business assessment ID is 57223, and we are speaking of a DQ Grill and Chill. The total annual rental value we have in place is $141,960. The total area we have is 2,970 square feet. And the overall rate, including utilities, is $47.80. For the income stream, we have one premise associated, premise 306141. We have that listed at 2,970 square feet with a base annual rental value of $133,947. And that's derived using a rate of $45.10 per square foot. From there, we have occupancy costs included that equal out to $8,019 for the total annual rental value in place of $141,960. We do have lease information for the subject property. We have it a lease with one area, and we have that listed as net. The lease was written back in 2021. It was a 15-year lease. The reported area varies slightly at 30,024 square feet. And we have that with a reported rate of $45 per square foot. For rent comparables, I have included rent comparables of restaurants that are used within the neighborhood for the subject property. The areas are similar to the subject property and range from 2,283 square feet at the lower end up to 3,800 square feet at the higher end. And the rents range from $29.88 or $28.50 at the lower end up to $48 at the higher end. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Colatruglia, have you any questions?
No, thank you.
Ms. Anderson, any questions?
I'm sorry, I just missed the lease amount. Could you repeat that for me, please?
So the lease for the subject property or for what we have on file for the income workup?
No, for what you have for the
On
lease.
file?
Yeah,
So we have it valued using $45.10 per square foot,
right.
2,970 square feet, which gives us a base ARV of 133,947.
No, I'm sorry. I meant that you said you had some lease information.
Oh,
and it
yep.
was
So if
slightly
we look,
different.
yes, if we look at the lease info, we have just a slightly different area, which I was actually curious about myself because I had worked on originally putting this building on the roll, and when I did, that was the area that we had reported, but it's very slightly different at 3,024 square feet, but it's almost within the same. And we do have a reported rent on there of $45 per square foot.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I don't have any questions. Mr. Pontier, do you need a summary?
No need for summation. Thank you.
Then, having heard the evidence, we will conclude this matter, and I believe that concludes all of the matters on the docket. And so we will adjourn this hearing. Thank you very much, Mr. Pontier.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, panel members. Mr. Colatruglia, you have a good day.
Thank you. You too, Ronnie.
We'll see you again. Take care.
Take care.